I'm Cray Beaumont Flynn. Welcome to Beyond the Design, a show that gives you a peek behind the curtain of the design industry and shares the stories of those that are the driving force behind it. Well, welcome to Beyond the Design, and today we have with us as our guest Hudson Moore. Welcome to the show, Hudson.
Thanks for having me.
So you are the senior design editor of Frederic Magazine, and you also just authored your own book, Blue and White and Done Right.
Yes. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you do as a senior design editor at Frederic Magazine.
So I feel very lucky to be at Frederic. I think Frederic is a true design and architecture magazine in a world where they're a little bit hard to come by these days in print.
Right.
I think as the senior design editor, my role is to really find and capture projects of design and architecture that may feel atypical for a magazine. We are always looking for a little bit of a surprise element, whether that's going and photographing a crazy Art Nouveau townhouse in Belgium, or a fortress in the south of Spain, or a museum house in Scotland. I think we really are kind of on the pursuit for these interesting, also educational pieces and stories. And we commission amazing photography. We commission all of our own photography, and I think really try to do these stories justice, stories that really amplify good design and architecture.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's my role. I feel most of the time a lot more like a photo producer, art director, stylist than I do an editor. I think editing for me is a little difficult because I'm flooded with ideas all the time. But I love my job and feel very lucky to be there.
So your design journey, what inspired you to pursue a career in design and become a editor in the publication world?
Well, my father is an artist. He went to college for art, and I grew up around art. My parents renovated old homes when I was a boy, and I've always kind of been around the world of art and design. I subscribed to every shelter magazine at the age of 8 or 9, and just combed through them and saved them. And I always kind of knew that I'd be somewhere adjacent to interior design. And I went to school myself for advertising and then for art, and then pitched myself to New York to really just be in the thick of it. And I have been so lucky to land in such a great place.
Could you share some insights into your role at Frederic Magazine and how the publication intersects design and its content?
Yeah, well, I think, the magazine is very new. So a little bit of background on Frederic is that it started out as a marketing publication for Schumacher, which is the fabric and wallpaper brand. And I was the brand manager over there, and kind of led the charge on the magazine when it was a marketing piece. And in probably the early 2019, we started getting inquiries from competitors and other people in the industry wanting to advertise in what was then called the Bulletin. And I think that it was, a exciting thing for us to see that we were being recognized. And we took the opportunity to branch out, to make the magazine a separate business, and to really be able to call ourselves a real shelter magazine. And since then, I feel like we really kind of got to set the ground rules of what kind of projects we take. A big pillar for Frederic is authenticity. There's no editorial add-ons. We don't promise anything to our advertisers. So there's a real no strings attached approach to our editorial content, which is very atypical. It's very
Right.
it's typical for advertisers to be able to buy places in the magazine and to buy stories and editorialize content, and it's just something that we don't do and don't offer. We really want it to be authentic and just a highlight on what we feel like is good design and what's in the air, and what we're excited about to share. And I think we're given, as a new magazine, there's no pretense, or you know, um, we're not building on top of something. We're getting to create it from the ground up, which has been
Correct.
really, really fun.
How's the growth been in the last 3 years, almost 4 years now that you've come into the market of the publication world?
It's been incredible. I think I'm not exactly the best person to speak to all the growth from a business perspective, but I do know that we sell out every issue from an advertising perspective, which is amazing. I think the distribution has grown to over 75,000,
That's
which is
great.
really great for us.
Yeah.
And, we're on international newsstands now, in hotels. We have a lot of hospitality partners and airports, and it's just really grown, and it's grown fast, and we have a great business team that is have come from years at AD and other design publications that have just kind of spurred us into this whole realm. That there was about a year with Frederic in 2020 when we were kind of like renegade doing it ourselves. I was selling advertising because I had an advertising degree, but I had no idea what I was doing. And I was also like sending out distribution documents to our printers, and when we finally hired that business team, I think it really moved us, into a place where we could function like a real magazine.
Right.
And it's been great. They've done a great job.
So where did the name Frederic come from?
It is the founding father of the whole world of Schumacher. His name was Frederic Schumacher, and the Frederic Schumacher and Company is the parent brand that runs all 5 subsidiary brands, that are all kind of included in the little
Hmm.
family. Frederic being one of them, and Schumacher, and then a rug brand, a paint brand, and so on. So we kind of took that. I don't think many people know his first name, so we took that to kind of include
Yeah.
the family name.
Who's Frederick? Where's
Yeah,
Frederick?
exactly. Who is he?
With your competitors and other publications and print magazines and such that are out there, how do you see yourself in this market, especially with social media and everything being online and accessible to the reader, where it's quick go, and the old style of flipping pages and reading a printed material? How do you see that you differ from that?
Well, I think that one thing is that we really prioritize our printed content. We're 4 times a year. I think that there's something really special about the paper that we use, the size. Frederick, we're not kidding ourselves that it's much more expensive than other shelter magazines. We
Mhm.
know that about the publication, but it feels like a special thing. When you spend the $20 on it, you want to keep it, you want to savor it, and it feels almost more like an art book. And I think that was very intentional. We're also very intentional about never discounting our magazine. There's no subscription promotions. There's no, we don't want to cheapen the content. So it's really, you're paying what you pay, and
Mhm.
I hope that you get out what you pay in it, and I think you do. I think it feels special, and I think another thing that I mentioned before, but is really special, is that we commission our own photography, and it's a hard thing to come by in the industry. But what it does is, one, we're supporting designers and architecture firms by doing that. We don't put the burden of the photo shoot cost on the designer and architect, and we really are able to celebrate their work and to present it to the world. And then we're also able to have our own point of view. We're able to show these projects in a way that feels consistent, and each each issue spans, probably 5 or 6 different design aesthetics, but they all have this same kind of attitude and mood, and we can really lay them out in a consistent and clear way that tells the story.
How do you choose the spotlight, highlight, and editorial of each magazine, since you're quarterly, correct? 4 times a year?
Yeah.
So how do you choose? Is there a theme? Is there a focus? And what is that process?
Yeah. Well, so we have never had themed issues up until this last fall. And the CEO of the company really challenged us to think of ways that we could support the young designers in the community. And we wanted to come up with an inaugural list and something that we could do annually that kind of celebrated young design. And so we came up with what we're calling the Frederic It List, where we chose 10 to 15 young designers on the scene. It's an international list, and to really celebrate their work. And on top of just the editorial inclusion, we gave them a stipend towards their business, and through this huge party in New York, and it felt very fun and very celebratory. So every fall will be dedicated to our It List. But outside of that, the other 3 issues, it really is just about having a good mix. So I think when we're looking at projects, we're really trying to, see what we have in our back pocket and then build out the issues. We love to have, places that span the world. We're trying to be inclusive and find projects in kind of the far reaches. I think my big push right now is Central America. I think, there's not a ton of Central American projects covered in the US shelter magazines. Right. So we're always on the hunt. And then I think, we love to have a garden. We love to have an architecture focused piece. We love to have something modern, something more traditional, something that feels very approachable. So we include 6 or 7 different projects in an issue. And I think it really serves, it may not be your aesthetic, but I think that there's something for everyone in the issue.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about a new book release that you just authored.
Yeah.
What motivated you to write Blue and White Done Right? And what themes or ideas did you aim to explore in this book?
So the book had quite the evolution. So we started out with our partnership with Monticelli under Phaidon. They approached us about doing books from our editorial, kind of perspective. They wanted the Frederic editors to do books. And my editor-in-chief, Dara, had asked me to do this series of books on decoration by color. And so we decided to start with Blue and White. And that turned out that I'm not sure if we'll do more. I think, it was this huge project. It turned into a 2-year thing. And
right.
But Blue and White felt like such a great place to start. I think it has, it spans so many different aesthetics. It is a very natural color combination. It's like the sky and clouds and, the sea and waves. It's like blue and white is just kind of instinctive and natural.
Right.
And feels very calming. And so it was it ended up being a great place to start. It's done so well and been very exciting to see how the book has, the responses to the book. It's been very, very fun.
Very, yeah. So your design philosophy, how would you describe your personal design philosophy or approach when working on a project, or whether it's for the magazine or the book itself?
Well, I think, I mentioned authenticity earlier, but I think being under Dara's direction, she is and was very conscientious in training me to become an editor, that it's very important to know the past, to know references so that you can really understand what's authentic, what's a knockoff.
Correct.
I think we're really trying to distill down to the great design that's happening, and not just something that's a regurgitation.
Right.
Not to knock down inspiration. I think we all have it and we all take it, but to distill down to the really good design. And so I think that that's kind of a lens that I find myself looking through all the time. And especially with the book, we found ourselves wanting to um, really include a huge breadth of design and designers from all over. And I think that that was a real key factor, was that people were being smart, that there was a real idea behind the decoration, that you're not just um, putting up a pelmet on the curtains to put up a pelmet, but you're
Right.
doing it with intention, and it's also beautiful. I think it was a very um, you know critical way of looking at these designs that ends up making a book that not is not just beautiful, but also can be educational and have good, smart decorating inside.
So have you been on the book tour?
I have.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's been really fun to meet people. I've probably done about 7 cities so far. And we've got
Fantastic.
several lined up, going to Atlanta and Palm Beach, and I think out to LA, all in the first quarter of this next year. And It's been great to meet people whose images are in the book, to meet designers that are so excited to be featured, and then to just see the response on social media and to get
Right.
emails. That's it's been very kind.
So will there be a book two?
Th- that's
Up in the
I
air?
Yes. Yeah, I am about to start on a new book, I think. I'm prepping for it. I'm researching for it. But it's not on color, but it's on something that I'm very excited about. So I'm really excited. I loved the book process. It was so much longer than I thought it'd be. With a
Hmm.
magazine, we have a month and a half to turn around a whole magazine worth of content, and so a book was a lot longer and took a lot more work. But I'm excited to start the endeavor again.
Fantastic. What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced in your career, and how have these experiences shaped your perspective on design?
Biggest challenges. I think that's a great question. I mean, I feel like I keep going back to this, but I think the challenge for me was really just learning, without having a proper design, interior design background. I came from an art background where, I have a good sense of artists and, color and scale and art history movements, but design was a whole nother beast. And then
Hmm.
architecture, which I feel like I'm just now kind of starting to learn and learn more about, is a whole other beast. And so just being able to educate myself, I think has been the biggest challenge, but I think it's also been the biggest reward. And I have coworkers around me that have years and years of experience, and there's a lot of challenge there. I find myself personally drawn towards a much more modern and clean aesthetic. And I have coworkers that would live in a rococo mansion, with every frilly thing in the world. And so I learned so much from that. And I think it's that it's been that education, that doesn't just push me towards my own aesthetic and own you know design preferences, that's kind of pushed me out of my box to not necessarily want to live in a space like that, or choose
Right.
that for myself, but to appreciate the beauty of it, and to really be able to style it or capture it well, and to our best ability.
What is Hudson Moore's personal aesthetic preference and
Oh, well,
style?
it is very clean. I think I we did this whole book on style when I first started with Dara, and I was really helping with a lot of the like on the ground research, and she worked on this chapter that I think she ended up calling um, sensual and spare or something like that. And it really resonated with me because I think it started out, the chapter was called Well Appointed for the longest time. And the idea was that, every single piece in a room is chosen and chosen with intention. And I think I live my life that way. I think I would have a bare room until I found something that I love. And I've done that. And so I think, I live with very little. I think being kind of, you consume so much design on a day-to-day basis that
Are you a minimalist?
I'm a strict minimalist. Yeah,
Yeah.
terribly, terribly strict minimalist. But I think I see so much design that once I'm home,
Right.
I need a place for my eyes to rest and for, to be comfortable. I think comfort is key for me. I'm not a minimalist that, wants to sit on a jagged chair, but I do love very masculine things, leather and steel, and I find myself gravitating towards very, very clean, very, very sharp and handsome things.
So what is your creative process? Can you walk us through your creative process, and do you write the actual storylines for the publication? And
No, I'm a
how do you go from
terrible
idea to
writer.
execution? Oh.
I'm a terrible writer. I was given one story once to write in the magazine, and, it did not make the magazine.
Oh. Someone
It
edited you out. They edited the editor.
I got edited out. My process, I'm working on this big story right now. I don't do a ton of um, content that, is kind of dreamt up from the beginning and to the end. I kind of start with a house that someone's already designed and then kind
Mhm.
of, put an editorial spin on it and kind of like bring the house to life. But when I am, working on stories that kind of start from the ground up, I think it starts often with just like these huge brainstorm sessions.
Mhm.
So I'm a person that really needs to bounce ideas off of people, and I have one coworker in particular, his name's Griffin, and we just sit and bounce ideas off of each other all the time. And it really helps to kind of like clear the noise and to find the story. And then we have big pitch meetings where we bring all of these boards into a room and we'll pin up inspiration images and draw out, shots that we want to do. And that gets approved, and then we're on to production. And I do quite a bit of stories that need models, and so I'll cast and find hair and makeup artists. And it's very fun. It's very fun. There's definitely an evolution, but I think the more hands that get involved, the better the stories get. So I think,
Right.
I start with a very distilled idea, and then we bring in creatives that we're excited about and know that they'll do a good job, and it only makes it better. So it's a fun process. It's cool to see where it goes
Right.
from the beginning, and then when it's finally printed.
I assume I'd say giving it birth, coming into life, and all the components being formed together from various entities.
Absolutely.
In what ways do you believe design impacts and intersects our daily lives and lifestyles?
Oh my gosh, I think it's so influential. I think I will say that I am, I feel so incredibly privileged to be around good design. I know that that is, I'm so lucky to be around beautiful things all the time. But I think that good design is much less about, these very rich and wealthy things, and much more about living with things and living only with things that you love and that serve you well. And I think that that can really run the gamut on aesthetic and, all of the things. I think, instead of having your house filled with stuff that you feel half excited about, I think,
Mhm.
waiting until you have something that you love and will cherish, I think is a way that we can be conscious for the planet, for ourselves. I think it has a
Right.
huge impact on our psychology and the way that we rest and the way that we feel at home and at ease. I think that design is very, very effective on our lives. And whether we give it much, whether we claim that influence or not. And I think it's just a way of living well. I think I've seen my grandmother who has never had much money, but she lives in such a beautiful way. And every time I'm at her home, it's such a special place because I think, she surrounds herself with things that she loves, and she is very she cares well in her home and
Hmm.
will serve you, you know, coffee in her best teacups, and she's not hasn't just filled her home with um, you know throwaway things, and I've always appreciated that, and I think that that's where design really influences our lives.
Being on the design side in publication and featuring design and various aesthetics, what do you see some of the following design trends and those that are being created that will stand the test of time?
um I think trends, I'm not one of those people that's like trends die. I think trends are all kind of they're all kind of based out of like a like collective thing that we're all feeling. I think
Hmm.
it's influenced by what's going on in the world, what's going on in, the the cultural world, like pop culture. And I think it all has kind of influence on our psyche and what we want to surround ourselves with. So I think, in times where the world is very tumultuous, we all kind of crave to have just comfort, and there's not like a lot of visual chaos. But I think at home, like, people are really leaning towards that like
Right.
clean, like quiet aesthetic that we hear all the time. It started in fashion with quiet luxury, and now it's kind of in the home with people wanting textures that they feel like really ground them, like really nubby linens and leathers that are soft to the touch, and like just a lot less noise, a lot less
Hmm.
pattern. But I think on the flip side of that, I think that with the onslaught that we had of this kind of like farmhouse aesthetic, we are
Right.
coming into a time where people are wanting color again in their lives and wanting their home to be a place where they feel happy, and it's not all grayed out. And I think that that may sound opposing, but I think that there are kind of like two different camps. And I think that both trends are really strong right now. There are people that find themselves, wanting to be excited in their homes, and then people that are really wanting their homes to be a sanctuary and be a place that really cuts through the noise of the world, and really gives them a place to rest.
What do you think of some of the design aesthetics out there that are cookie cutter? Like you mentioned, farmhouse, where everyone is wanting a farmhouse look and it's all white and grays over and over.
I think, context is very important. I,
Hmm.
grew up in Oklahoma. I've been to some incredible farmhouses, and I think, you know, if it's authentic to where you are and to the lifestyle that you live, I think it'll feel right. I think if you build a farmhouse in Michigan, it's just going to feel disconnected. You're not going to.
Correct.
It just doesn't feel correct. So I think that putting brand new barn signs up in your home may not be best when you live in California. But I think, if you find one in a junk store in the back of an
Yeah.
actual barn in Oklahoma, and
Right.
you throw it in your farmhouse that, sits by a pond, it's going to feel natural and going to feel, at home there.
A place and purpose. And like you said, a connection too
Totally.
into your locality. What advice would you give to young designers or writers who aspire to excel in the field, especially in the realm of publishing and design?
think curiosity is so important. I think that to be um, just excited and to see um, the world of design at large, I think it's easy to feel very um, to get very pigeonholed, especially
Hmm.
as a designer when you're working with specific clients. You're designing to a client's wants and needs. So to really educate yourself and go beyond those aesthetic limitations that you have from your clients can be a very difficult thing, but I think it's important. And I think that the worlds of fashion and art and entertaining and gardening and all of these things kind of also inform and kind of help you grow. So I think a curiosity across the board, I think, is very important. And then I think just the getting out there, and I think this feels again kind of contrary to that first thing, but I think it's important also to kind of cut the noise a little bit. I think to trust yourself and to really
Right.
to find your own aesthetic, because I think things with social media and Pinterest and these things can start to get very overwhelming, and you also
Hmm.
start to compare yourself with other people. And I think it's really important to find your way, and then before you really start to either add to the noise or engage with the noise. I think it's, you have to really know yourself and your design and your place. And then,
Very
you
true.
know, and then you can start to engage.
It's also the emotions, the connectivity to your senses too. You
Totally.
might like, so you're not, as they call shiny ball, shiny ball, shiny ball. What's engaging you and stirring your minds and emotions and your feelings.
Yeah, absolutely. There was this whole I found myself doing this. This is so bizarre, but I found myself doing this with gold medals. There was a time in like 2016 when gold was like all the rage, and it was gold
Right.
flatware and gold hardware and gold everything. And then I stopped one day and I was like, I hate gold. Like I don't even like it. Like I'm much more of like a steel or chrome person. And I was so it's like that was just something that was so influenced by everyone on social media and Pinterest, and it was just fed to me. And then I was like, wait, I hate this. Like, I think it's important to really establish what you love.
You got pulled into a trend.
I did. I did.
Where do you see the future of design heading, particularly within the context of changing consumer preferences and technological advancements?
Well, I am very passionate about design education from a sense of, I think we really have to start considering and looking at our consumption and our how we buy and buying well, not just for ourselves and for our homes, but for the world and for the planet, and being conscious of the way things are made, the impact that they have on the people
Hmm.
that make them, on the the materials that are used, and um, I think that consciousness, I think, is really going to start to lead the way that we buy and consume. I think that it kind of already has started in the way that um, you know how things are priced. I think we're getting a real divide between not to we're getting a real divide between a lamp that you find on Amazon and then a lamp
Hmm.
that you're going to purchase from someone that made it. I think, one is made with intention. They're maybe making 5 lamps, and then one is made in mass production. And you can really see the difference in not just quality, whereas one lamp will be trash in 2 years, and the other lamp that's going to be an heirloom piece. So
Hmm.
I think that the world of design, I hope and pray that it's moving in a more conscientious place, and not like I sound like a broken record, but just not buying to fill something in your home, but
Right.
buying when you know you love it, you know you're going to keep it forever, instead of
We-
just trying to fill your home up as quick as you can.
Right, right. We've become such a throwaway society, and we're not keeping things that, a value of craftsmanship, which is
Yeah.
depleted as well.
Yeah.
If we keep things a little bit longer, we'll help the global environment and sustainability in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
What has surprised you on this journey of yours as you started in the publication world?
Um, so many things. What has surprised me most? I mean, I've been so I say this all the time, how lucky we are in to work in the world of design, because I think I was very intimidated at the beginning to become an editor and to start to engage with all of these craftspeople and artists and designers and architects. But it is such a kind and welcoming world. I think
Mm-hmm.
as a young person just jumping in, I have been, just very lucky to either have just met the really good people in the industry, or or there just are really good people in the industry. And I think there are. We say all the time, design is a service industry.
Right.
A designer is in the same line as a construction worker, as a plumber, as an electrician. They're dealing more with the aesthetics on the outside, but it is a service to their clients to build them a home that's going to work for them and that they're going to
Mm-hmm.
love. And I think that I have really seen, just no pretension, no snobbery. I find that there has been a very welcoming and great environment in the design and architecture world, and that's been a big surprise and a really, really good one.
What's next for Hudson Moore?
Well, I'm hopefully going to start working on this book, which I'm very excited about, and I think it will consume every waking moment of my life. But I'm excited about some more book tour stops. That'll be very fun, and we've got a big year ahead for Frederic. I am in 4 different cities in January, and already have like 3 international trips on the books before May, and so there's a lot of new stuff, and we get to start working on next year's It List, which I'm very excited about. The young designer, finding them
Mm-hmm.
is a whole thing. It's like I find myself just on Instagram and just talking with friends and getting recommendations, and so I'm really on the hunt for that. And yeah, that's what's happening. It's all exciting, all things in very early processes, but it's fun, and I'm looking forward to it all.
Fantastic. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with us and tell us, or give our listeners a preview of who Hudson Moore is?
Oh, that's so nice. So thank you for having me on. This has been
Absolutely.
so fun. It's been great.
Well, I want to thank you for your time and coming on the show. It's been a complete joy and pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Well, much success to you and book number 2, and we will chat soon, Hudson.
It sounds great.
All right, you take care.
All right. Bye-bye.